Subdivision's not
Oh, really?
Okay, here we go. We're gonna open this planning and zoning meeting at 4 o'clock. Please take your seats. We're gonna open the meeting.
Yes.
Please take your seats. Or go outside, either one. All right, first thing on our agenda today is approval of the minutes from the January 2nd meeting. Has everyone reviewed those? Anybody have any corrections, or if not, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Have a motion to approve. All in favor? Second, I'm sorry, second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. We're gonna move on to 3A, replat of some Aransas addition lots, and Drew, you wanna kind of walk us through that?
The replat of Aransas Edition lots 1R, 6R, 7R, 11R, and 12R. Part of the subdivision out of the Thomas Hand Survey number 115, abstract number 193 of City of Kerrville, Kerr County, Texas. More commonly known as the Aransas Edition, located north of Travis and Aransas Lane. To give you your bearings, you've got Broadway on the west, East Main east of that. Next immediate block is Park on the west and South Street on the east. So it's an existing plat that was never developed, and they are replatting 5 of those lots, just shifting the lot lines around a little bit. There's the new final plat. As you can see, slightly darker lines of the lots that are being replatted with the lot number in the circles. The one adjacent to Travis Street, 2 in the middle, and then 2 on the north end. Some of those existing lots are non-conforming. They're 45-foot wide instead of 50-foot wide, but they're not adjusting those, so they remain grandfathered lots. There are no conditions of approval for this plat. Again, this is previously platted. They're not modifying all of the lots, just those 5. Utilities are existing, and site access is existing off F Street and Travis Street. So F Street comes in right at the south end of those middle 2 lots, and they'll be building a private drive for access on the west side of these properties. The staff recommends approval of the plat, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
And the reason for the replat of the 5 lots?
The applicant's here if you'd like to speak to that.
Sure.
Bruce Strachey, 369 Indian Springs, Kerrville, Texas. The reason for the replat is this was platted in 1986 and never developed. The lots, we wanted to take as many of them as we could and bring them up to the current subdivision code. And so we picked these lots. We took community lots that were ascribed there and basically shuffled the property lines to do that. And so it's current market issues, Mike, to be honest with you, is trying to do it. The remaining lots are very tiny, 40 instead of 45, 40 by 100. So we'll be looking at doing like small lot, single family, or maybe, patio homes garden, 0 lot lines. So, but it's trying to bring some affordable housing to Kerrville. It's just 12 of them, but it's the best we could do on this site.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Anybody else have any questions? If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion on the replatting of the 5 lots of the 12.
Make a motion approved.
We have a motion to approve on the replatting. Is second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. So the replat of the 5 lots is approved. We'll move on to the public hearing phase. We'll go into 4A, zoning change, R1 single family residential to mixed use on the 23 acres. Drew?
I'll go through staff report, and then we'll let the applicant present their project. So it's currently zoned R1. It is part of the strategic catalyst area number 8. As you see the description there, estate residential, neighborhood residential, preservation, transitional residential, and community commercial. Being mixed use, it would qualify as that transitional residential and community commercial combined. So it is consistent with the strategic catalyst area. Here is their site plan. If you guys recall, the site plan is required for a mixed use zone case. So they'll be tied to this with possible minor modifications. If they have any major modifications, they would have to come back to the Planning Commission and City Council for approval. And being that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning, staff recommends approval. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Lee Adams, and this is Murdad Nambar. We're partners at M&LA Ventures. We appreciate the opportunity to be before the Kerrville Planning and Zoning Commission. We're here today to request a zoning change from R1 to mixed use for just less than 24 acres at the southwest corner of Loop 534 and Cypress Creek Road. Mixed use best suits our development concept, which I'll go through. Our primary intent is to develop an active adult senior independent living community consisting of 150 units with amenities on the high buildable portion of the property away from the highways. Areas of the property near Loop 534 and Cypress Creek Road are proposed to be future commercial retail space developed for boutique shops, restaurants, wine bars, art galleries, unique activity venues such as pottery, arts, and culinary classes. The commercial retail development would be complementary to both the residential senior living development as well as the Kerrville community at large. The development concept is consistent with the Kerrville 2050 Comprehensive Plan, Strategic Catalyst Area 8 within which it sits, as well as meeting the identified needs for housing and family entertainment for the community. In closing, we'd like to thank Drew Paxton and Steve Melander with the planning and development. They have both provided fair and clear guidance and proactive communication throughout this process. We'd also like to thank you, the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as the members of the community that may be here to comment on our zoning change request. Thank you for your time and consideration. We're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, guys, before we open the public hearing?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what is going up the hill to get, I can point, you can't see what I'm pointing at.
I think I can probably imagine what you're,
Okay, so I'm going around the loop, going north or northeast.
yes, sir.
I turn left on Cypress Creek Road.
Yes, sir.
Then I turn in and go all the way up the hill and around the corner to get to the senior living.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the retail commercial would be down at the lower portion on the highway frontage sections.
How
More
many
or less.
units is for the senior living?
Our target is 150 units.
Is that 2 buildings?
It could be 2 buildings, yes,
We're hoping one.
1?
yeah.
Right now, we're only doing phase one. I mean, this is a multi-phase job. We can't do it all at one time.
Yes, sir.
We're only really gonna move forward on phase one, which is the senior active living. And that's the one, the L one in the corner.
Okay.
And the infrastructure going up. And then eventually, as we build around it, we'll build the community tie-ins.
150 units. I'm too old to count
Yes,
those
sir.
little bees. How many parking spaces are there? Do you know?
Well, it depends on if we get a variance, but per the mixed use, it's like 200 parking spaces.
Okay. How many people work if you had 150 beds?
Just to clarify, this is not an assisted living memory care center.
This is
This is
just
active
an
adult,
age
independent living.
Yeah.
So, age restricted,
Like apartments or seniors?
All right.
yeah, with amenities. So there would be probably between 5 and 10
Okay.
employees.
And your conceptual plan is how many, is it multi-level?
We'll probably have to based on the site constraints. We don't know, we don't have it designed yet. That's a footprint. It's gonna be multi-story. We'll probably have to do a podium wrap, which would have a parking garage within, the units around it maybe. And then a couple stories on top, maybe 3 stories. I mean, you're limited to how high you can go based on the zoning anyway.
What's the
so.
limitation on the height, Drew?
Let me check.
I think it's 45 for 100 feet and then
A
100.
foot per
Yeah.
1 foot from the 100-foot boundary line.
That sounds right.
Say that again,
So
it's
the
what?
maximum height
It's, you start at 45 feet. If you're away from a residential line, you gotta be 100 feet back, I believe it was. And then for every foot further setback, you can go a foot higher, is what's in the zone.
And as we're looking at this conceptual plan here where you have these two buildings, what property is, I don't know the direction, what is below that?
To the south, on the, I guess, on the bottom side, that's the Shriner property. And then within that Shriner property is where they're doing the Lennar development.
Okay, gotcha.
The front part of the Shriner is commercial already,
Yes,
and then we're tying to the ag side of the Shriner.
okay. Any more questions for you on the public hearing, guys? You can always ask.
I got one more.
Yes, sir? You got one?
Go ahead. This way. When we do a mixed use, I mean, you know me, we do blanket zonings and then all kinds of stuff shows up
Right.
later. What are the, can we tie this to anything?
Yes, mixed use is tied to the concept plan. And it is a specific list of uses in the land use table as well. So your light commercial, community commercial, and multifamily are allowed.
So no heavy commercial, no
Yeah, no heavy
body
commercial.
shops, stuff like that?
Correct.
Right, the mixed use designation for the zoning actually specifies what you can do within the mixed use development, and it's a mix of residential and commercial uses that work together. That's why we chose it,
Okay.
for our needs.
Okay, I used to think I was a pretty smart guy, and I know you know the rule, but the height, this is already so high.
Right.
You get, if I'm on Cypress Creek Road, based on these contour lines and whatever height is allowed, can somebody tell me how tall that is? I know this isn't Santa Fe, we're not trying to tuck everything into a mountain, but
The top of the hill is about 150, 160 feet above Cypress Creek Road.
okay?
And then if they go 45 feet above that, a little over 200
So the
feet.
45 feet is from grade where they
Grade.
start building.
That's correct.
Pretty tall. And how many stories? Oh, you can only, the height, whatever, 45, okay.
It's gonna have to be multi-floor because we can't fit, the footprint up top is very small. So we gotta work within the constraints of the hilltop.
So the base elevation for where they would be building is 150 feet?
It's approximately 100 feet from Cypress.
And then from that you go up to 45 feet or plus or minus, something like that?
Correct.
Right.
But as you can see, we've got all the green areas still active in the
Sure.
3 acres. I mean, we're not disturbing most of the acreage. I mean, you will see it from the road. I mean, we actually don't mind it. Our concept is gonna be first in class, so I mean, we're trying to provide Kerrville with something that doesn't have right now.
Okay.
So we wouldn't have that competition. And it's gonna be market rates, not affordable, senior active living, so. I think it's a compliment to the city from our perspective. That's why we presented to Drew. I thought this was a great location. It's a tough build. I mean, so the reason I know the height is because we met with Public Works, and the pressure for the water is one of our issues we gotta deal
Right.
with.
Yeah.
Is the challenge for our engineering, but, I think we can figure it out with some effort.
How are you gonna do that?
Oh, we're gonna have to do a pressure tank probably halfway. The capacity and servability is good. It's great.
It'd really
They've
make your
got
neighbors
they've got
mad,
the
just
capacity.
build a new water tower right there.
We don't want that. And we don't have the cost for that built into the.
Anybody else? All right, we're gonna open the public, thank you very much. We're gonna open this public hearing at 4:15, basically, is that what it is up here? And, I do have some speakers signed up to speak. And I have Charles Whalen.
I'll defer that to someone else right now. Cam.
Do you not wanna speak?
I'm gonna wait. I don't need to talk.
So you're not, I'm gonna throw this away, you're not gonna speak, okay. Rose Moreno?
So, from where I'm sitting down, I
Can you
cannot
introduce
make,
yourself, ma'am, so we know who you are?
oh, you just said my name.
You may be able to turn it down. There you go.
My name is Rose Moreno.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so from where I'm sitting down, I cannot make any heads or tails of, is there copies for us?
We can, yes, we can.
And, of all the frames that you had, we would like to have them because I cannot make any heads or tails from here, either here. I don't know if I get closer, but, I would like to know, so has there more research been done? I mean, here you're talking about water, which, we have, all my neighbors have retaining walls, just about, I believe. And I just barely got this invitation that there was going to be a meeting about changing the zoning. While right now, currently, there is already zoning for resident. We do not need to change zoning unless the commercial part is more important to you. So we don't have a list of what zoning it currently has and what the commercial part is going to have, what is the difference. We would like that information too. We do not have any information as a resident, and so at this point, I oppose it. We want to know the safety of our property and properties, and so do you have any information for us?
Let me just, right off the bat, it's presently zoned R1, which is
That
residential.
doesn't say anything to me right now,
Well, that's,
and maybe
that,
to some of my,
well, I'll tell you, R1 residential allows for single-family homes. R1 residential requires a certain lot size for single-family homes. That's what the property is zoned right now. That's in the presentation. That's in the city's records. The request is for a mixed-use zoning tied to this specific plan that
okay,
you see right here,
okay.
which includes.
And you want to change it to commercial. Why does it have to be changed to commercial?
Well, the way it's zoned right now, you can only build single-family homes.
Exactly, but this is with the plan I'm seeing is for residents.
No, it's for multifamily, it's for senior living, a senior living facility, which is multi-level, basically apartments.
Okay, you just told me two things. I heard family and senior. So, you're not really, that's why I needed more information. We just had an invitation, we're having a meeting, and that's it. I mean, hey, what's going on? We don't have anything, nothing.
Well, you do, ma'am. You have exactly what we're trying to do here. You
No,
have the
I
fact
do
that it's
not.
zoned R1 residential, the fact they're requesting
Yeah,
a change in
so how is
zoning.
it going to affect my property? I currently or not me, but the city has a water leak
As a what?
and a
Sorry.
water leak, and they refuse to repair it. So what else is going, I asked them, what happens, if there's a water emergency, because you guys have a leak, what's the chance of it really breaking down? And they told, just call, I can't remember if it was the police or the fire department. That wasn't a good, and it's been leaking for years, while we're in a terrible drought. So I want to know how much more is it going to affect us, So.
Shouldn't affect you at
It
all.
won't affect you at all.
Shouldn't affect
Well,
you at all.
I wanna have it in writing. I want it on a piece of paper, what research has been done. Can my retaining wall support it? That
Your
kind of-
retaining wall would be up to who built your retaining wall. That has nothing to
Where do
do
you
with
live?
this
Where
project.
do you live? What's your address?
You have it right there.
Well, where is it in proximity is
You
what
live
I'm
at
asking.
1504 Ford?
Yes,
And where is that in relationship to this property? I'm sorry, yeah, 1503. 1503, so where is
I don't know, you have the map there, I don't have anything
It
here.
doesn't show your street here, ma'am. It doesn't show where you live.
You see, I need a little bit more
It would,
paper.
I think your house, the residential neighborhood, which I'm presuming most everybody's here, is from the residential
Yeah,
neighborhood.
we're
It's the
nowhere
left
close to
side.
that.
This is for, it's in line with the first line.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman,
This is the neighborhood.
It's right here.
Chairman, 1503 Ford.
Our project.
You
would
got it
have
right
nothing
here.
To do with your retaining wall or your neighborhood. We're not even gonna
Right.
tie into that side of the property. That will be all green space, where you see those
Okay,
lines.
well, I said I can't make heads or tails from here. I don't have any information.
Okay, we're happy to walk you through it if you want to walk up.
No, I want my own copy, so I can look at it.
Here you go. You can have that
Is
one.
are we running the clock? Okay.
So it was just pointed out to me where you live, and that piece of paper he just gave you, if you hold it up and look at it, what you have, and you can see at the
Look-
top
and look on the
where
screen,
Cypress Creek
Jay.
Road is on your piece of paper on the right-hand side.
Okay, you're gonna tell me that it's not going to affect me. Is that what you're trying
I'm not
to
telling
say?
you anything, I don't anticipate, but you live on the other side, completely on the other side of this property, on the back side of the property,
So what
which
are you trying to tell me, though? You're saying too much here.
I'm
And
just
it's
trying to
going
tell you
over my
that that where the development is not where you are. That's all I'm saying.
How is it going to affect our street?
Street?
And if you do it commercial, how is it going to be connected to our street, or how is it going to?
It's not gonna be connected to your neighborhood.
Yeah,
So the access will be from Cypress Creek Road, and there will be no extension of Ford Street or Carol Ann Street. So those streets will not extend onto this property. There will be no access from this project to the neighborhood.
And ma'am, I would say if you've been complaining to the city for over a year about a water leak, maybe before you leave here today, you go talk to these gentlemen right here, the assistant city manager's right over there, because that should have been taken care of.
Come talk to me.
Drew, would you put your magic arrow back to where this lady's house is? I want to mark on that piece of paper for you, ma'am, where your house is, if you'll bring it back to me.
For this one here.
That's okay, it's just the same general area.
Okay.
Ma'am, your house,
Yours is
Thank you, sir.
right here, somewhere right about there.
you're here. Yeah. And the development is here and the access is here.
I know, but you want this whole zoning for commercial.
We do, but
The
what I'm
only
trying to say,
thing
we're-
but you have,
Only,
With the rating
now
they
let me
already
finish, you have to let us
have,
look,
finish.
ma'am,
It does not need to be changed.
look, yes, it does need to be changed, and what we're talking about here, this whole area is gonna be mixed use, but he has to abide by what you see on this map here. He can't build anything back here. That mixed use, is tied into this site plan right here.
Where did you say my house?
You are
My
back
house
here,
right there.
yes, ma'am.
And there's not going to be any buildings.
No, ma'am,
here.
you can't build back there,
This
Why?
is, this,
because that's what he's,
that's what,
that's
this is
what we're
what he's
agreeing
asking
to.
for.
We're agreeing to this plan right here, with one or two buildings here and commercial up here.
You should have given me this information before.
Wow.
Okay, how was that, sir?
Okay, so you're back here, and this, changing the zoning to mixed use, he has to abide by what you see right here. He can't build back here, he can't build back here, he has to put his buildings here,
The
building
topography doesn't
here.
allow it, man.
and he has to put his commercial here, this is Cypress Creek Road, and this is the loop, so there can be no development back here anywhere close to where you live.
Got it?
Well,
And the zoning does have to be changed to allow for the senior living apartments that he wants to build. You can't do that in R1 zoning. You can only build single-family homes in R1 zoning.
okay, so I'll believe that when I get it in writing.
You just
ma'am,
got it.
that's what's in your hand, right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
That's
let me tell you
all the
something, ma'am, in
information we
addition-
have.
How many feet is that from here to here?
You might have to ask them, I don't know, but it's a pretty good way. But let me tell you the process here. If we approve this today, because this,
I know, if I had this information, I wouldn't be here, all I have is an invitation.
understand, and that's why we're doing this, because this is what happened.
So-
Well, this
so
is the
I
process.
want to know how many feet
Chairman.
is that?
Excuse me. The purpose of this meeting is to share this information.
Correct.
The notice you got is required by state law to notify you of this meeting to receive the information.
Okay.
So we do not send information out ahead of time except the notice, so you can come to this meeting to get the information.
Okay, sounds good right there.
And then, in addition to that, when we're done here, should we approve this, this still has to go to city council through 2 public hearings to get approved. We're only approving the request. City council has to approve the final zoning change, and you will be notified again of both of those meetings, and you will be able to go to those meetings.
Sorry, Chairman, we don't send extra notices for council. It's just for planning and zoning commission.
Also, they don't get notice that there's gonna be a public hearing at city council?
No, just in the newspaper.
Okay, so you watch the newspaper,
I
'cause
don't get the paper, so can I go to your office to go get the paper?
You absolutely can. Mr. Chairman, I think there's probably some other folks who also have signed up to
Yes.
speak.
Yeah,
I
I
want to
got
make
it.
sure that they
Be
have the time to
respectful
do
of
so
that.
as well.
okay, thank you, ma'am. Well, we hopefully answered some of your questions. Okay, now I have Daniel Daniel Parr.
If you want to sit down, I'll give it to you.
I didn't sign it, I didn't realize I had to sign up to speak. You don't have.
When everybody's done, you don't have to sign up, I'll let you, we'll call for anybody that's, yes, sir.
I'm Daniel Parr. I'm at 1504 Street,
So you're-
4 Ford
you're,
Street.
you're across the street?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And I just was asking and would like to have some information that I can maybe contact you about future things. But as I understand, Ford Street will remain as private and quiet
Yes,
as
sir.
it is forever.
well, we can't guarantee it forever, but we'll have nothing to do with this development.
Nothing to do with
In
that.
control of the developers.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And, there was also some concerns that we have of light pollution. And if it's, the lighting that comes, because you're talking about a significant thing on top of a hill that has to do with current lighting restrictions and.
Yes. The city
Okay.
of Kerrville does have dark sky lighting, so everything has to be down lighting, and it has to remain on the property. So you may see the lights just because you guys are below it, but it shouldn't have any significant light impact on the properties.
Okay, but not looking up.
Right.
Okay. I realize that that's not the greatest part of the agenda right now. My greatest concern was Ford Street.
Yeah, well, you're fine. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why we're having the public hearing, open it up, and that's why, like Drew said, you get the notice because you live within 200 feet of the development, and you come and you get the information. And then if you have any questions, you can probably talk to them, or you can talk to planning services about it.
I may have your cards. Thank you, John. So, well, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Miss, is it Croxton? Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it right.
It's Judy Croxton, and I live at 1507 Ford Street. I live right adjacent to the property. And so I'm happy to hear that Ford Street will be a dead end. And my concern is the traffic. You've got the traffic light on Cypress Creek, and you go down just a little bit where your entrances are going to be. So you've got school buses, there's a lot of traffic that goes around there, and I'm just wondering, how are we going to handle the backup when people are coming in and out? Is there an impact study on the, maybe you don't do that yet, but impact study on the traffic? Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with that area. You've got a traffic light, and then you're just gonna come down a bit, and you're gonna have 2 places to come in and out. So it's really gonna back up.
Well, I mean, where they're putting this development is gonna be pretty far off Cypress Creek Road, so there'll be an entrance into this project to get in to go to all the different things that are gonna be there. I don't know, is there gonna be more than one entrance?
Is that gonna be like on the Tybee, the road that goes up to the cemetery?
No, we're not all the way to the Tybee Mountain, we're on this side of it,
Okay,
closer to the lake,
okay,
a little bit closer, but, that's a TxDOT road, so that's a TxDOT road and we're on the highway, so we're on the corner of 2 highways, basically.
right,
We're gonna work with TxDOT for the entrance, so
Okay.
we're gonna work through all that stuff
Okay,
with them, and we've
that
already
was my-
contacted them.
okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Becca?
Hi, my name is Becca Bagot. I live at 1504 Carol Ann. And actually, my question was answered. But I guess just to confirm with the map here, all of the green space that exists, is it the intention that it won't be developed as
Yeah, so
things
just-
expand?
Just to add to that, so it's very difficult to develop even where we're at with that hillside.
Yes.
That's all the steepest locations of it, so it's materially infeasible for us to develop on it, number one.
Okay.
But, this is our plan for the mixed-use development.
Okay.
So, yeah. that's
Perfect.
it.
I would have assumed as much because it is
Very
quite
steep.
steep.
It's very steep, right.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other one, but someone just wanted to speak. Yes, sir? Yes, ma'am, come on up. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Mary Contois. I also live on Ford Street, and we have great barbecues. Come on down. But I have, first and foremost, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this information. This was sent to us this afternoon, those of us that replied to the meeting. And that seems so rapid, but the wonderful thing about Kerrville, and one of the reasons I picked it, and a great lot of planning and diligence, as you did, to make this my home to retire, was the infrastructure and the planning and all of those things that were already here. Ironically, during this process of talking with my neighbors, I worked for 3 national companies that developed on their own land continuing care retirement communities that start out with the golfers and went all the way to the dementia care centers. And I was administrator overall. The thing is, we needed to expand and we had to work within the existing parameters. So this included hills in Portola Valley behind Stanford, and the Masonic homes, those were one of the places I worked, and a third company, a national company out of Seattle. And each time, there was always something pretty major missed, and a lot of it had to do with transportation, cars parked, families visiting, and all of those kinds of things. And I'm sorry, I'm rattling. This is not my forte. I'd rather sit at the punch meeting. And all I had to make sure is your guys didn't bring flu in. But I didn't realize what that was impacting me. So within about, 72 hours, I want to compliment all of you. I have talked to 3 commissioners. I've talked to the police department. I've talked to the neighbors talked to me. My house is on the corner and they walk their dogs there. That is what we didn't want to change. But the biggest part is Cypress Creek. That is a big dilemma. You have your one driveway right by the light. There is another whole development in tiers and with multiples down below Quinlan Creek, all within hundreds of feet of that same light. And I have been stuck there when the high school and the junior high also are wanting to get through from Sidney Baker all the way across. It is a big dilemma. And if I hadn't been getting over this, I would have been sitting there clicking the morning traffic and the afternoon traffic. The other thing is it is a blind curve, and it is a down curve towards our 4 exits from our subdivision. You guys can throw things at me, but those already are problematic sometimes to get out, particularly Lucky Joy, which is the very next street down into our subdivision from your projection for your project. And I can appreciate what you're trying to do. In I would call it my own personal due diligence for retirement or single and R1 retirement home, I looked at the Juniper. I looked at the Guadalupe. I looked at River Hill. We have those communities. They are adjacent to restaurants. They are adjacent to doctor's offices. They are adjacent to 24-hour gyms. And those places are getting shuttered up. So the 2 things to me are a potential in zoning for attention that we don't need at this point. Because those kinds of, and it sounds lovely, it sounds wonderful, but at that particular location at this particular time in our town, knowing we're going all the way out to the 2050 and all of the brown multi-use places that are already on the map, I can't see the rapidity with which the rezoning needs to be pushed through. So I'm going to mirror what my neighbors have asked. Could we slow this down just a little bit? Do a little bit more impact studies up to and including just the vibration of the construction that all, in a neighborhood that's already downside of a mountain? The final thing that the week before we got this letter, many of us went to the wildfire presentation at the Ag Center, presented by the Forestry Service, and that hill is a tinderbox. It's private property, we all get private property, but there are deadfall, leaves, things of that nature that are there. It's private property, we can't go on and take care of it, and yet it's within 50 feet of the houses, the garages and all that. That's not something you can handle. Yeah, I was the one on the phone, I'm sorry. But, so it's something that could be solved here. Again, it's just for the zoning, making something that wasn't there before when we already have things that are already there. That is why my voice will be to oppose.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Good afternoon. My name is William Evans. I live at 1500 Carol Ann. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the rezoning request up for consideration. I'm opposed to rezoning the property corresponding to KCAD ID 14834, which is currently designated R3 according to county assessor records. So I opposed having that changed to mixed use. The current zoning designation is more in line with the character of the neighborhood that the property abuts. Though it has been proposed that any commercial businesses would be located close to Cypress Creek Road, there is no guarantee that this would not change going forward, and commercial businesses would be located closer to the current neighborhood and affect the current character of the neighborhood. I'm not opposed to multifamily dwellings being next to the current neighborhood. Perhaps the property could be subdivided and the proposed commercial development area could be rezoned to accommodate the desired development. The area backing up to the existing neighborhood could then be developed with multifamily dwellings more closely matching the character of the existing neighborhood. I'm concerned about the additional traffic flow on Cypress Creek Road, which has been mentioned. And I don't know if any of you guys have been in that area, but it really is pretty crowded during the morning time and the afternoon time. It's kind of difficult to even cross the road by if you're walking. The area backing up to the existing neighborhood, it doesn't seem that Cypress Creek Road can accommodate the amount of additional traffic that would be generated from a large multifamily apartment complex. The property in question was annexed with an R3 designation rather than multi-use. There must have been a reason for this at the time of annexation. Therefore, I am opposed to changing the zoning designation to multi-use due to any original intent and the concerns mentioned previously about possible effects on the neighborhood backing up to the property in question. Thank you for taking my thoughts into consideration as you decide the request for rezoning. Thanks.
Let me just clarify something. Is it R3 or R1?
It's R1.
So it's R1 and not R3?
So the appraisal district uses R3 as a different appraisal designation, but it is not the same as the city's R3.
Which is interesting because when you look at R3, it says that you're allowed to have small apartment buildings.
Yes. It's
So
much
I don't
more,
understand
it's
why the
much more
county would
dense than
call-
R1.
Sorry.
It's
So I'm not sure
R3.
why the county would call it one thing, but then the city calls it something else, but they're not the same.
The appraisal district uses their zoning as part of their appraisal process, and it is not the same thing as land use zoning. And you're right, it is confusing, but it is not land use zoning.
It's the county's fault.
And as a matter of fact, the if it was in fact zoned R3, it would be much more intense because R3 allows for apartments.
Right, but it doesn't allow for commercial buildings.
Right. One note, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I think we have here. The mixed-use zoning requires that the developers follow the plan they submitted. There is no deviation from that plan. There is no future going to the back of the property and putting more commercial. Am I correct?
That is correct.
So there will never be anything developed on the backside of this property where you people live. It's not allowed. That's, if they get this mixed-use zoning, they're tied to this specific plan that you see right here. And there is no future ability to build anything back there.
Unless there was a new plan, and then it would have to come back to you.
No, can't be a new plan because
This is it then.
this
If
is
they-
it.
If they wanted to modify the plan, it would go through this process again, and notice would be sent.
Because it's curious that, people say that you can't build on those hills, but if you look at those complexes that are right below the water tower, they're built right on those hills. So, so it can be done.
It's not that you can't build it, it's not cost effective.
Expensive.
Expensive.
For the return for.
And I'm assuming those are not commercial properties built up on the top side of the hill. They're probably residential. Is that correct?
They are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm Joel Bryant, live at 1503 Carol Ann Drive. I do have concerns because, well, my house specifically is sitting directly below where your main, your first, whatever, phase one would be. And it sits right down there. When there's already issues when it rains a lot, when you put a large building right there, it's just gonna increase erosion, it's gonna increase the water coming down the hill directly into my house. So I do have concerns about that. I have questions about, so you have a footprint on here. And to my eye, looking at the footprint, the size of the footprint and things like that, I don't see how in that footprint you're going to get 150 units unless they're like college dorm sized. I don't see how you're gonna get all the amenities and things like that. And you talk about wanting an active, like this is an active senior center, right? Where this is on the hill, there's not much room for activity. Like there's not, you've got, I know it shows you have 2 outdoor spaces that you can, that people can go, but those are small. And you have a road that runs and wraps all the way around. So, you're gonna have delivery trucks, you're gonna have everything like that has to come up, and it's gonna have to go wind all the way around that road. Emergency vehicles, anything like that is gonna have to come all the way around to get to the main parking lot. I think that there's issue. Plus, if you're talking about building a, whatever, 45, 50, 60-foot tall building on the top of this, you're gonna have to do a lot of foundation to get that in place on the top of this hill. So you're gonna have to move a lot of earth, a lot of dirt, just to get the foundation in place to keep building of this magnitude in place. I am also worried about property value. As it is, my house is kind of unique, and like there's not really a comp for it in the neighborhood, and all of a sudden if I've got a big, huge building up on top of it instead of just a hill, it kind of changes the value. Plus, everybody on this side is gonna have a nice view into my pool and backyard, so that'll be fun. The fire hazard thing, it is an issue. Every year I've been going up and cutting everything back, up at least to the edge of the road, just because it keeps covering there's like a reflector at the top, but you cannot walk up to the top of the hill. Like there's so much undergrowth and everything in there, it's pretty bad. So I don't know how much you guys have dug around on there, but that whole hill it's like impassable. There used to be a trail up there, even a couple of years ago, you could still go up, but to this point, it's not.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead cedar over there.
Yeah.
We'd have to clean it up anyway.
Yep.
A lot of it's cleared by either the current landowner or the
Yeah.
next landowner. They just pushed it, so we'll have to clean that up.
I think that was pretty much it. Like, those are my concerns. So I do appreciate you guys sending us out. We were able to find, my wife and I were able to find all the information online, but it's kind of not easy. Anyway, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Bruce?
Bruce Drakey, 369 Indian Springs here in Kerrville. I don't have a problem with mixed use there. It's a high intensity site with the 2 state highways. I don't know if that's what I would have picked, but we all pick different things. The concerns that I have are not water supply, but water pressure is this gonna be a hydropneumatic plant? It's probably not gonna be elevated. The city then has to maintain the hydropneumatic plant and provide the power and all for that. The other thing is that road is gonna be about 15% grade. It's 150 feet, it's about 1,000 feet of road up to the top.
That's what I kinda wrapped around it.
Right, and so that 15,
We're gonna make it where the fire trucks can go, that's what.
You're gonna have
so
to.
it's gonna be steep. It's gonna be steep, and this is a senior living site. It's been presented, and so that's a very steep road in Kerrville, and so, and then my third thing is just, this is right next to Tybee Mountain. And I don't know how many of y'all have been up there, but it's a wonderful historical site. And so there needs to be some care done. That has nothing to do with zoning. But it's something to think about as we're moving forward with this project. How are we getting the pressure for fire service when there is a fire up on top? The summit, which I think they were referring to of being up on top on the other side, has an elevated tower, which is easier for the city to maintain. We don't need that volume for this site, but that's an issue. The steepness of the road, and then just historically, Tyvee's right there, and it's a beautiful site to walk up to and see Kerrville and view from. So that's it. We're glad they're coming to Kerrville.
Anybody else? There's no more speakers. I'm going to close this public hearing. 4:45, 4:46. Any questions, guys?
No, just want to
Comments?
clarify for everyone out here, Drew, sorry, that, again, we're just doing the zoning today.
Correct.
So once they come in, and if the zoning gets changed, then they have to address the water issue. They have to address fire access. They have to address traffic. All of those things, number one, is not what we're doing here today. And if this gets approved, they have to go back and have all of those things to code as they're supposed to be, correct?
That is correct.
And also, the traffic issue would be an issue if it was a subdivision. And it would be an issue if things get built further down Cypress Creek.
Right.
Okay, just
Well,
verify.
the entrance and, the entrances for this, I'm sorry, ma'am, the public hearing is closed. The entrance, is a DOT issue, correct?
That's correct.
And
So-
they'll have to have a proper entrance to keep traffic from backing up, I assume. And then the water issue is the city's gonna have to approve the water issue and the water pressure issue. And I'm assuming the city's not gonna be wanting to maintain anything that they have to do to get water pressure for their building, is that correct?
Yes, it'd be a private system. Their engineer will design it. City engineers will review that, make sure it does meet code, both for domestic use and fire use.
Will there need to be a traffic study? for
Yes,
this?
TxDOT will require a traffic study.
TxDOT will do a traffic study before they, I'm assuming, agree to whatever entrances you guys are gonna have, which is probably gonna be part of the requirement.
And if it's approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, it would go to City Council on March 11th for the first reading, and 2 weeks later for the second reading.
Water's been mentioned, we're talking city will do the study will have to be done for water pressure.
Sure.
Water runoff also got mentioned.
Correct.
Yes.
So do you want to touch on that a
State
little bit?
law.
Yes, their design engineer will design the drainage and any retention requirements. That gets reviewed by our engineers as well to make sure that it conforms to city and state standards.
Well, and the fallback is state law.
Correct.
They can't force property off their property onto his.
Right.
Anything else?
Well, I would like to mention, in light of our last meeting with the 2050 amendments we're working on, it does fit very well into the Catalyst area. There will be commercial, just right there around the corner. So what they're proposing would, in my opinion, fit well with that. We also talked about wanting to care for people as they're, becoming elderly in town. That was also something mentioned in that plan, and this helps address that. It helps address some entertainment in the future. So I did find that notable.
Anything else? Kevin, nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just say that, I mean, everything that Kim said, I mean, all this stuff has to get approved by the city. And it's a super challenging site. I mean, y'all are ambitious. So, but again, I mean, everything has to go through the right channels. We're just changing zoning here.
Yes.
It's a need. I'm excited for some entertainment. Yeah, no, I think it fits what we need.
I mean, I would assume that these guys have done a little bit of their own due diligence about the economic feasibility of putting 150 units in there for seniors, age required, and I would expect they wouldn't be building something they didn't think they can rent. Not that that has anything to do with the zoning, but anyway, we're done. If there are no more questions for Drew or for the applicants, I would entertain a motion on the change of zoning. We have a motion to approve the change from R1 to mixed use. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, this motion is passed. And again, it still has to go through the planning process. It has to go through 2 city council meetings, public hearings before final approval, and you will have 2 more opportunities to voice your opposition, your opinion, or request any more information. And if you didn't get enough information from what we've had here tonight, please get in touch with Steve or Drew or the developers with your questions and the information that you would like to have. Moving on, number 5, Kerrville 2050 Comprehensive Plan.
Just a quick update. We do have a meeting scheduled with the Downtown Advisory Committee for March 26th to have the downtown plan presented to that group.
We do? We have a meeting?
No, we have a meeting.
Okay.
The Downtown Advisory Committee is the other board that's working on specifically on the downtown plan. That'll be March 26th.
Is that here?
Yes, it'll be here. Friesen Nichols is working on the chapter updates. I'm in the process of reviewing the land use chapter. It's kind of the first big one for the chapter updates. Once we get a final draft of that, I'll send it out to the commission for review so you can get eyes on it beforehand. So, plugging along.
That it?
That's it.
Anybody got anything?
Next meeting is March 6th. We do have 3 cases and a workshop item for you. And again, if anyone's interested in the Kerrville Comprehensive Plan update, you can go to kerrville2050.com. That's it.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thanks, Kevin.